Oh, yes, we are live for the Derby della Madonnina review right here on the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. I'm a little bit outnumbered here because below me here on the panel, we have two of our favorites, hosts of the Serie A Sitdown. They are Milanisti, though. And then Jerry Mancini, he used to be an undercover Interista, but he has completely he's turned his back on his father, who's an Interista. He has turned his back on people like Uncle Sharma and me, Rocky Bobby, like people who we embraced. We welcomed Jerry in. Ever since Lazio pulled that bullshit lack of sportsmanship thing last month, and Jerry got a little bit attacked online, Jerry has completely turned his back on the Inter fan base, and he is now anti-Inter. So I am outnumbered here on the panel once again. I will attempt to hold my own. Now, nobody has bragging rights, though, on this episode because at the end of the first Milan Derby of the season, they come away with a 1-1 draw, like kissing your sister. Although I do think, and maybe you guys feel differently, I'll introduce our guests in a second. I certainly think Inter needed the 3 points more than Milan did. So from that standpoint, I kind of look at the draw as at least a slightly more favorable result to Milan. I know they would have loved to have catapulted Napoli for sole possession of first place, but they do still keep Inter 7 points off the pace for first place, and Inter did not gain any ground on either Milan or Napoli. So I think the draw suited Milan a little bit better from a point standpoint. But let me introduce our guest. Let me introduce the man we haven't seen in a little while first, our good friend Frank Crivello, host of the Serie A, co-host, to be fair, of the Serie A Sit-Down podcast. I know this man's been keeping very busy, coaching, working his ass off. Frank, welcome back. How are you?
Oh man, it's great to be back. Good to have a chance to chat a little calcio with you guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Jerry, how are you, bro?
I have this Edmonton Oilers game in the background, so I'm right now not doing well because they're losing. But other than that, yeah, I'm fine. I cannot complain.
Hey, all right, maybe if we can keep Jerry distracted enough by the Oilers, he's not going to gang up on me with his anti-Inter propaganda. So I better odds here.
Inter cheated. So at the end of the day, there's no sportsmanship. Inter cheated.
Jerry, I have Leon Draisaitl and Duncan Keith in my DraftKings lineup tonight, so I would appreciate if at least they come through.
I can't believe they scored 6 goals on Friday. Today they can't even score 1.
It's Detroit, for God's sake.
Oh my God, it's pathetic. But yeah, as for Inter, I think the winner in a way is Lazio because there are 4 points. No, seriously. I think I was listening to Frank's podcast today. Serie A Sitdown, and I'm thinking here, the winner is Lazio. I know the season's young, and I know that Richard has always talked about. Sorry, Frank has said that the verdict is still out there about Lazio. You don't know what you're getting. 1 week they look amazing. 1 week they look really bad. Now, given the fact that there we go. Anyways, given the fact that they're only 4 points back of Inter, who are in third place, 1 point back of Atalanta in fourth, I think the fact that Retiro has really helped that team and has really kind of given them a new identity and so maybe some off the field kind of bonding was needed. And the way they're playing and the way that Inter has played, they haven't been great under Inzaghi. Atalanta has been inconsistent, given the fact there has been injuries to them. I think Lazio sitting in the background, it's benefiting them. And you know what? As the season progresses and things start to get better, this result can really come into hand in the long term because 2 draw points there from Inter is massive in Lazio's point of view because they're not going to catch Milan. Let's be realistic, but I think that with Inter's kind of transition under Inzaghi, maybe this does benefit them a little bit. And I think that with Luis Alberto starting to get that groove, he's found that midfield with Cataldi. There's kind of that blend of that starting 11 where he's kind of got it down, whereas Inzaghi's still trying to figure out what really works best for him. So I don't know. Maybe you guys know. And I know this is the derby for Inter and Milan here, but I just had to pick your brain because you said no one walked away as a winner, but on the outside, I'm on the outside saying, hey, hold on here. I'm happy with this result. I'll take it.
I'm sure Napoli are happy with it. Atalanta happy with it, and Lazio as well. It's fair. Let me introduce the other half of the Serie A Sitdown. This is, of course, an epic crossover here between the Calcio Connection and the Serie A Sitdown. A man who, honestly, I need to commission him to design a logo for me because he like his logo. Honestly, this is better than the swoosh. This is better than the Tiger Woods thing. Like, it's epic. Richard Kharman, Mr. RK. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. I should be upset. It took you 5.5 minutes to introduce me, but it just gives me more time to brand my women's clothing logo here with Kate Hudson here. So I'm happy about it. Let me put my camera on there. So thank you for having me on. Glad to be back on, as always. How are you gentlemen doing?
Good. And you know why it took 5.5 minutes to introduce you is because Jerry Mancini has this epic talent where you could be talking about how the weather is outside, and he's going to find a way to bring it to Sarri and Lazio. Like, oh, you know what? It's raining outside. You know what? It was raining on the second day of the Retiro when Sarri was rallying.
Shout out to Mass in the chat, too. I see you there.
I love it. I love it. So I want to get Frank and Richard's point of view from more of a Milan perspective on this 1-1 draw. Of course, I want to get Jerry's perspective as more of the neutral. And like Jerry mentioned, as a Laziale, he's feasting with both of these teams, especially Inter, because that's the team they're closer to dropping points in this one. For me, there's obviously a sense of disappointment not to get more out of this game. And Milan can probably say the same thing because both sides wanted to win. Both sides played like they were trying to win. But from an Inter point of view, the chances missed, especially by Lautaro Martinez, who we've talked about it so much on this pod. He's very inconsistent. There are certain times where Lautaro has put in unbelievable performances against some of the best teams in the world. So you kind of view maybe this is a big game player. I know Uncle Sharma was talking about this in his match recap that, he views Lautaro maybe up until yesterday as a big game player. But Lautaro, to me, and I'm not even just talking about missing the penalty kick because he missed a couple of tremendous chances from open play as well that he really should have buried them for the amount of money that dude is making and for the amount of worldwide prestige that he has. So I was very disappointed with his performance and not being more decisive. Even if you're going to miss that PK, and Tiramisu made a nice save on that penalty kick, even if you're going to miss that, he could have had chances from open play as well. Barella missed a tremendous chance. Arturo Vidal in the second half had a wonderful chance. Milan did well. I think it was Tomori blocking his shots, did incredibly well in that instance. So it was disappointing from that standpoint. And as I mentioned at the top, Inter really they needed 3 points. I mean, obviously there's still a lot of season left, and a 7-point gap can be made up. It can be made up, but to get 3 points in that game would have been absolutely massive. From a positive point of view, a guy that I finally get to give some credit here on this show because he's mostly been bad this year, and I know my Milanisti know about that. Hakan Çalhanoğlu played a really good match, and it's not too surprising because you knew if there was going to be one fixture where this guy's going to be extra motivated, it would be a Milan Derby. He did actually score on a penalty kick, unlike Lautaro. And it was pretty lively throughout the match. Keep in mind, guys, we have to grade Hakan on the curve because he's usually so poor that anytime Hakan shows up and plays well, it's like, all right, I'll take that. But at the end of the day, a 1-1 draw. We'll get into some of the finer points. Frank, let me go to you first from a Milan point of view, because I mentioned to you guys from my Inter perspective, with the way that the match went, and both sides had their moments, right? I mean, Inter had a bunch of chances within the final 5 or 10 minutes of the first half, and then for about the first half hour, 35 minutes of the second half, Milan started the match really strong, finished the match really strong. So both sides had their moments. How regretful or disappointed are you not to get more out of that game than a point?
I probably, and I said this on our podcast, I come away feeling ever so slightly on the lucky side that Milan got out of there with a point. I thought that, you take a look at the match statistically, it was balanced, but it had ebbs and flows to it. There were points where Milan were stronger. Then there were points where Inter were stronger. Inter clearly, over the last 5 minutes of the first half, looked like they were going to go ahead before halftime. They had a ball, the chance that was, I think it was Barella's chance that was cleared off the line. You mentioned Lautaro. He missed a chance in there that normally he scores. So you're coming out of there happy to get out of there 1-1, and then you start the second half, and I felt like I just felt like Inter were just on repeat taking corners over the first 15 minutes of the second half. Milan just could not, defend those successfully and get a counterattack started. So Inter put them under a lot of pressure. It's when the substitutes happened that the game flipped and started to get back into Milan's favor. Pioli's substitutions were tactical. Inzaghi's substitutions were forced because of injuries. Inzaghi couldn't make the adjustments that he wanted to make. He was forced into a setup at the end of the game where he had Correa and Alexis Sanchez. So you don't have that striker up front. You got two guys, and you're taking your chances on hoping these guys can pull apart Chiara and Tomori in the counterattack. And Inter never got a chance to get that going to see if it would work. So it's not that it failed. It never had a chance. And that's because of the pressure that Milan was able to keep putting Inter under. And one of the other forced substitutions, Dumfries coming on for Darmian, Milan saw that right away and said, we're attacking that side. I mean, and they went to Rebic a lot. And he said, Dumfries is clearly a liability. He's got to learn how to defend better in this league. He will. I mean, playing in Serie A, that's an area of your game you're going to get better at. And the only issue with Milan was that there wasn't anything clear cut out of all of that possession. So I can't say that they should have gone on and won the game. The only chance was the one from Salamakers that hit the post, and then Kessie had the chance to score on the rebound and missed. It happens. So it was 1-1 was fair. For me, I know that there's a lot of Milan fans that were complaining about the officiating and the penalty calls.
And we'll get into that, believe me.
Sure.
We will.
And we'll talk about that. But I don't look at that. I don't look at that in the grand scheme of things. I look at it as I think that Inter were slightly better. I think that Milan were slightly lucky to get up, and in the end, 1-1 was fair.
Richard, what about you? Big takeaways from the match, and we'll save the refereeing for the other side because I do want to get into that as well on a separate note.
Sure. Yeah. Interesting game overall. It's very entertaining, right? I think it's funny hearing your take from the Inter side on Martinez, because I thought he actually played a very good game. He missed his chances 100%.
Yeah.
It could have been 4-1 Inter at halftime, and he missed a couple other opportunities in the second half.
Well, and just to clarify that, like my point of view is, and like I know that he can do a lot outside of scoring, but when you're paid the big bucks and it's a big match like that, a derby, you've got to score. Like you're in a two-striker system. Like you have to score, especially when you get an opportunity like a penalty kick, because you're not going to get too many better chances than that one, and you can't even bury that.
And to be fair, his pass is the one that unlocked Darmian for that caused that second penalty. So I thought he was decent in the game. I thought he was better than the Staten that's on your team. But overall, good game. I thought Inter, you guys did a very good job of, as more chaotic it got, the more it seemed to favor Inter. And I think Inter were starting to get really strong at the end of the game. And like Frank said, injuries started taking their toll, and it kind of flipped the script. But I thought Inzaghi outmanaged Pioli in this one, honestly. And so overall, good game. I don't think the point hurts either team. Like you said, Inter probably would have wanted those 3 points. I know Milan would have wanted the 3 points, one just to get over on their cousins, but also to try to take the lead over on Napoli. But maybe that's a good thing they didn't take the lead yet, right? So it was a fun game for Inter, Milan, and neutrals.
I'll tell you, and I'll let both of you get in on this, and then Jerry as well. I think the thing that actually surprised me most about this match, and it's not to say that he was terrible, but I thought he was uncharacteristically quiet. I would have bet my mortgage, thank God I didn't, before that game on Zlatan scoring at least once. And he was, and I don't know if you thought it was Inter keeping him in check or Zlatan just being quiet, because I didn't really know what to make on that. I thought he would be more decisive in this game.
I think that it was very easy for Inter to keep Zlatan in check, and that's not really a product of how Zlatan performed. I think that's a product of what was available to Milan and how they lined up. When Milan are at full strength, you have Teo Hernandez coming down the left-hand side and bombing forward, making penetrating runs. They can tend to unbalance. They can tend to unlock defenders, and that takes some attention away from Zlatan, where now he can be played in. as an example. So, Inter are not going to show the same respect to Fode Ballo-Touré that they would show to Teo Hernandez. So that's part one. They went with a system where Brahim Diaz plays on the right instead of his normal 10 position. And I understand why Pioli went for it. You have to ask a question in a game like this: where can my dangerous player be dangerous? And the answer is probably not in a 10 role with Brozovic there and with that back three. I think it would have been a bigger challenge. So Pioli's theory is put him on the right, keep him high, and find him in some of those pockets that are going to sit between Perisic and Bastoni where he can cause some problems. Calabria is not going to come. Let him absorb whatever Perisic does coming forward. As a result, you don't have as much width as you normally see with Milan. Leao was disappointing in this game too. And as a result, Inter sees that and they say, well, we can just sit. We can take passing lanes away from where Ibra's making his runs. We can make Milan go side to side a lot with their possession and not get anything penetrating. And a lot of that was going on, especially in the first 20 minutes of the game. So Zlatan's ineffectiveness was a product of the lineup that Pioli put out there, and Inter seeing that and saying, hey, we can just crowd around Ibra and pretty much take him out of the game.
Yeah, Jerry, I want to bring you in as well, and your perspective. I mean, if anybody were to accuse me, Frank, or Richard on bias from either side, I think Jerry might be the most biased person here because he hates Inter now. But I do want to get the quote unquote impartial analysis from you. What did you think? And hold on to the officiating because we'll get into that after this. But what did you think of the match as a whole?
Well, I thought the bulk of the chance. At first, I thought that it was a balanced game, but I know it's just the replays and you watch the condensed version as well. But the bulk of the chances really did come from Inter.
Yeah,
I don't know how they didn't score a second goal in this game. I really don't know. I thought, aside from not being clinical enough, Milan were a little unfortunate to not win this game. That's a penalty. At the end of the day, I'm gonna go right at it. And sorry, it's not a penalty. I apologize. It's not a penalty. The fact that I watched that replay 100 times, and I don't know how you don't think that when Tomori, sorry, not Tomori, when Haka makes the initial contact on his leg, he puts him in a position, and I truly feel this. He puts him in a position to trip him. He initiates the contact. So I don't understand how it's not Hakan making he starts it. He makes him lose his balance, and then the process. Yeah, I understand that he should have kicked the ball away or whatever he should have done, and he held it too long. At the end, it's easy to say that. When you're a football player, sometimes you overthink things. Sometimes you're trying to get around. You got to be in that situation to understand what the player is thinking too, right? He doesn't just throw his foot in there and tries to trip Hakan. It's just it's so bad. I'm sorry. I think the Tomori challenge, obviously day and night clear. That's absolutely a penalty. But
yeah, Stonewall that one.
Stonewall, 100%. But with Kessié, I think it's not clear and decisive. For me, it's not there. But
yeah. You're saying the second one was a Stonewall penalty?
Yeah.
I
thought the one that was called on Tomori on Darmian, I thought was for sure.
Yeah, I thought he goes.
Or it was Ballo-Touré.
Was it Ballo-Touré?
Yeah, it was Ballo-Touré.
Oh, my apologies. I thought that was for some reason. I thought that was Tomori. Okay.
I thought you guys watched the game.
No comment on that one. You understand what I'm talking about. No comment. But yeah. Overall, I was writing during the first half. To be honest, I was right up in the last two games. I did catch the second half more, and I thought the last 20 minutes was all Milan. And then Frank really cracked this down really well on his pod as well. With Serie A Sitdown with Richard here. The last 20 minutes, the transition in the game really changed, and he's right. The substitutions really made a difference for Milan. Inzaghi waited too long to bring on Correa, and he just yeah. So yeah, they do need to go into retirement. You're right, but I thought that Inzaghi does it again. He waits too long to make his substitutions. Correa at that point when he comes in the game has tilted. It's gone to Milan's hand, and when he comes in, the momentum's not there. They don't have that balance. They don't have that compact. Like Frank, another good point Frank said was that Milan were really out of this game for 70 minutes. They defended well. They defended very well, but Inter really kept possession. We're really controlling the play, and when they get into the final third, though, with Inter, the issue was that Milan did enough to prevent them from scoring. And Tomori had a great game.
Yeah,
he had a fantastic game. That's 100%. But like Tonali was another great player. I thought that he really stood out.
Yeah, he was excellent.
And this guy's really matured a lot, like day and night. It's crazy.
Yeah, Tonali and Tomori were definitely Milan's best players, and I think that you could, if you take away that for everything that happened leading up to that first penalty, Kessie played pretty well too. You know, I mean, sometimes you have an incident that just kind of overshadows everything else you do in a match. So, I looked at the entire body of the work and thought that Kessie was fine. Richard, are you going to say anything?
Oh, I want to get. I mean, since
I was waiting for them to call me. I was waiting for them to call me.
Hold on.
I want to give a shout to Frank as well. I actually listened to Frank today, and he said another good point about Kessie missing the shot. And when I looked at it, I was like, that's a bad miss, wide open net. But when Frank really talks about it, it's true. In hindsight, you're like, yeah, it's a bad miss. When you really look at it again, the reaction is if he does actually take an extra step, the goalkeeper gets into position and he has a very good chance of stopping it. So he has to make that shot on a really quick instinct because if he sets in, he gets the time. He giving a goalkeeper time to get back in. Handanovic, even though he's 65 years old, probably gets there. But I think that's another great point he actually pointed out that I actually was really good.
So I want to get. I'll start with Richard on this. Because we've avoided the logo for way too long here on the penalty call, specifically the first one, because obviously the second one on Ballatore was more clear than the first one on Kessie. Now to me it's like, and yeah, I do have the blue and black colored glasses on. I was not surprised that they confirmed it upon replay, and part of the reason for that is that's one of those calls to me where it's hard to overturn it. That maybe if they had said no penalty live action, maybe they would not have overturned that call. The fact that they did say penalty, they didn't overturn it. I actually thought that in Jerry's explanation, you worded it very well when you said Hakan initiates contact, because I think that's the right way to word that, because I've seen other people saying that, Hakan fouled Kessie first before he went over. I don't think that's accurate, because I think that was shoulder to shoulder. I don't think you would call a foul on that in a normal situation, but that did cause Kessie to lose the balance, and then the leg was clumsy that got into the step to trip Hakan and bring up the pen. So it's very close, and guys, it's reached the point where since I watch Serie A every weekend, I'm starting to forget what's a penalty and what's not, because with the way these officials set precedents on calls. From one week to the next, I can't be sure what's going to be called a pen and what won't be called a pen. So I do err onto the side of that being a pen, but I do understand that if they had called that either way on the field, they probably wouldn't have overturned it. So, Richard, I'll start with you. What did you think about that call?
Well, first, I was just looking up the definition of stonewall, and nowhere does it say it's close and a 50-50 chance in it. I've seen many of my friends, both Milanisti, Interisti, and all kinds of supporters say it's a stonewall penalties, both of them. Neither are stonewall penalties, in my opinion. Let's start with Hakan's play, right? You're right. I think the wording is correct. It wasn't fouled. I thought it was a no foul on the play, period. What it was is you had Dzeko, great pressure by him to force Kessie to run like and hide like a girl, or I don't know what the hell he was doing. Hakan pounces on him like he should, and what you see is Hakan stick his leg in front of Kessie, make him lose the balance. Kessie, knowing he's going down, tries to be smart, which he's not, and clearly fouls Çalhanoğlu. It should have been incidental contact, shoulder to shoulder, whatever you would call it. Play should have continued. Let VAR decide to go back. Because they call penalties, you go to VAR, all VAR can do is check for clear and obvious error. And there was no clear and obvious error because it was just up to the referee at that point. If the referee called nothing, you go to VAR, you can call a penalty or you can call not. And I guess when they look the replay, depending on who the VAR judge, they would say, yes or no. But I don't think it was a penalty on that play. I think Hakan initiated the contact, as you said, and Jerry said as well. His leg clearly gets in front of Kessie, loses his balance. Kessie tries to make up for it and takes out Çalhanoğlu. And yes, that's a foul, but it should have been no call all the way around. They're stupid by Kessie no matter what. Shouldn't have put himself in that fucking position.
It happens, though, man. It happens, but sometimes when you're in that situation, like, it's a split second. Like, sometimes you overthink it. You're trying to do too much, or who knows, man. Like, it's a football play that one.
It's a derby. Let them play.
No, I know, but I know how many people are mad at Kessie for what happened in that situation. But like, it happens. These plays happen to the best players as well. Like it happens, and I think that
it shouldn't in the defensive zone. It shouldn't in the defensive zone.
But hold on. But are people really that mad at Kessie about that, or are they more mad about his contract situation? Because I think the two of those things can kind of become one and the same.
No, I'm mad about that.
You're more rash to criticize somebody when they're in that kind of a position.
Sure, but anybody in that position. I think you should be mad at. It's a bonehead play. You going back in defense and then lose the ball in your own zone, trying to outmuscle two players. I'm like, that's stupid. Yeah. Yes, the contract is ridiculous as well, but you can compare him to Barella all you want. Barella is making half of what he's requesting. I was like, come on now.
Yeah.
What about you, Frank?
First one's a coming together. No more. Yeah. Second one, I have a different perspective about it, and I explained this on the podcast on Sunday. I said, the question that you should ask, and I think the question, in my opinion, the question that referees need to ask is the offending player establishing an unfair advantage in winning the ball, or is he winning the ball? And then the after effect is where the physical contact happens, or whatever you want to say. So Ballo-Touré appears to get the ball first. Okay, he appears to get his foot on the ball, and in the after action of that, he goes through Darmian. Mm-hmm. Okay, but he doesn't go through Darmian in a violent fashion. He's sliding, he's getting a foot to the ball, which he does, and then he goes through Darmian. That seems to be the sequence of what happened. And the precedent is only, and I said this on our podcast. The precedent was just a few hours earlier when I was watching the Everton-Tottenham game. Very relatively similar situation happened there, where there's a ball in the penalty area. Lloris is coming out. Richarlison's going for it. Lloris gets a glove to the ball and moves it away, and in the process afterward, it charges into Richarlison and brings Richarlison down. Initially, the referee gives a penalty. It goes to VAR. VAR overturns it. So they looked at it and said, yeah, he got the ball first. That's correct. So my opinion is if you're not creating an unfair advantage to win the ball, or you are not defending in a violent fashion, like Ballo-Touré's studs weren't up or anything like that. I personally, that for those reasons, and from what I saw from that Everton-Tottenham incident, I don't think that was a penalty either. Just by kind of making a comparison to that incident. Again, now I'm wearing red and black glasses too. So, I could understand if somebody else wants to take a look at it and say, okay, fine. Yeah, it was a penalty. But that's, for me, Ballo-Touré got enough of the ball for me, goes through Darmian after that. For me, it's a tackle one. I would not have called it. And if it was Bastoni doing it to Leao, I would have said no. Bastoni won the ball first, went right through Leao. Leao's got to man up and deal with that. So it's what it is. But referee, everybody's going to interpret things differently, though. So.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I want to throw some shout outs to the folks who are joining us here in the comments. My guy Ricky Buzz is here. Anthony Privitera, Priv Inter is in. Make sure you check out his channel, Inter Worldwide. They do an awesome job. Lord Figo, the legend who walks among us. Lord Figo is in. And,
I think Mario's in chat too.
What's that?
Mario's in the chat too.
Oh, he is? I didn't even see Mario. Oh, there you go. Yeah, M Gags. There we go. Why do what is this? Why do Milan fans still think Tonali is like Pirlo? I mean,
By Milan fans, does he mean Inter? Because Milan fans don't compare him to.
We don't compare him to Pirlo.
No,
yeah, I don't know.
Maybe, but not Pirlo.
And Tonali, I don't know if that's necessarily a commentary on how he's playing, more of just a player comp. But Tonali's having a fantastic year, right? And it's one of those things where, and Jerry and I talk about this a lot. All the grief that people gave him last season, where he was, adjusting to a big club at such a young age. I don't write players off that quickly. Like I need to give it more than just a season to say, this guy blows. And I know that there were certain sentiments around that trying to really discount Tonali, but he's obviously been very good. And his free kick effort that led to that goal was tremendous. And it was an unbelievable delivery. The funny thing about that one was, I loved the way that, and fair play to Milan, it was despite the fact that it was an own goal, it was such a nice delivery. But I love the way that Tomori wanted to make sure everybody thought that went off his head. Like, wouldn't you know if it went off your head or it didn't go off your head because it didn't touch him? But he celebrated just to make sure he wanted to get credited with that goal at a derby.
Yeah.
He fooled us all.
Well, Tonali earned his call, and Tonali earned his call up to Italy. I mean, I understand that there's some injuries and that sort of thing, but it's still well deserved whether those injuries exist in Italy's midfield or not.
Oh, I want to say some of the bantering on Twitter made me laugh. I noticed that Inter fans have been called out because they had their choreography of their trophy and like how they did like their whole banner thing, and then Milan did something for like the
healthcare workers.
The healthcare workers.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic here. If Milan had won the Scudetto and it was vice versa, I think they wouldn't be doing the first responders first. I think that they would be recognizing their first trophy in a decade probably it's been. I think it's funny how people are so fast to react on that. I do get it.
Well, I think it's like my take. It's the silliest argument because okay, like I can look at it like the Milan tifo honoring healthcare workers. That's awesome. Like it's like I'm so glad they did that. But I don't understand why people are turning it into something where it's like, wait, we had a healthcare banner and you guys didn't, so you guys are morally bankrupt and we're awesome. But it's like, okay, because Inter have honored healthcare workers before. Like it's not like Inter have said, fuck the healthcare workers. We don't give a shit that they're saving people's lives, and now we hate them. We don't care. Like it's like dude, great on Milan for having an awesome tifo, and Inter did something different. Like it's not like they've never honored healthcare workers before.
Yeah, both tifos are great.
I'll tell you this. I probably forget about the tifos from once the referee blows the whistle to start the game. I forgot that they even put up tifos.
Yeah,
to be honest. I mean, that's just it. I mean, it's a non thing. Yeah, bravo to the Curva Sud, but it doesn't mean that the Curva Nord are a miserable pack of assholes for celebrating their first Scudetto in
there are other reasons.
In nearly 10 years. There's other reasons why the Curva Nord and Interisti are miserable assholes. Don't do it to them just because they wanted to put up their shiny trophy.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just saying, I just started laughing because I'm thinking, what about that to you, man? Like it's so contradicting and so bad. But I have another question actually for all you guys. How did you feel about Hakan's celebration? I'm in mix about it.
I'm mixed about it too.
I'm mixed about it.
Yeah.
And I'll say why. I get where he's coming from. His departure, I guess, wasn't the greatest. He said in his interview that the only person that really wanted him to stay was Stefano Pioli. No one else wanted him in the organization. I guess it was even the players. I don't know. We can only take for what he said. Now, you got to remember that as much as you don't like the players say, the fans have accepted you for 6 seasons, 5 seasons, however he's been there. I don't know how long he's been there for. When you're leaving, it's not really the players you're remembering. It's the fans you're remembering for what.
Yeah, but Jerry, the fans have done nothing but give the guy grief since he left. So I'm mixed on it because
Richard and Frank.
I love the celebration. I loved it. I hate him, but I love the celebration. I thought, if Ibra was in a similar situation, I'd want him to do the same thing. I thought it was I thought he had balls for doing it. I still don't like him, but I thought it was I like the celebration personally.
Oh, Ibra's done the same thing. I mean, he's done that to the.
He's got yellow.
He's played for every team in the world, and he celebrates against everybody.
Yeah, I didn't care, to be honest. You know, it didn't bother me. You know, I could also appreciate his need to let off some steam after everything that, you know, he went through and not getting the contract that he wanted to stay in Milan. And I guess I didn't care because I like the 10 we've got now. I want a 10 to be multifaceted, and Brahim Diaz will run at people. You know, Hakan Çalhanoğlu doesn't run at people. He likes to stay deep and pick passes, you know, and then as things develop, he will sneak into a dangerous position in the penalty area, you know, and get a shot off an open play. But otherwise, he's very good on corners. He's very good on free kicks. You know, there's no question about that. But for me, we've got a 10 that is multifaceted, can do a lot of dangerous things. I don't miss Hakan, so he can celebrate however he wants. It's not gonna affect me.
Yeah. I was just curious. That's all. I was just curious because I don't. Again, you guys know his relationship, like with the club and the fans, better than I do. I don't really follow Milan extensively. Yeah. It is ballsy, I agree, but I don't like the reaction about the super, like how they attacked about his wife or cheating. I don't know if there's a background story to that, or if his wife actually did cheat on him. And like
I mean, fans are fans, and they're gonna do it for years. You go all the way back. You go all the way back to who was it? Was it when Adebayor? I remember Adebayor when he was playing for Arsenal, and
great
Tottenham fans accusing his dad of washing elephants and stuff. I mean, you give it's and it doesn't matter the sport. You give a fan ammunition. You give a fan anything, and it's ammunition, and they're going to take it to the game and they're going to use it. When I was, you know, we were at UWM. I went to UW Milwaukee, and we had to play. This is the Bruce Pearl years. This was just shortly after I graduated, and they had to play Wright State. And God bless this kid on Wright State. His last name was spelled Koch, Cook, right? Well, guess what? The whole UWM student section called him Cock. Okay, and screamed at him. And he's waiting at the scores table. He's waiting at the scorer's table to go into the game and bless the UWM student section. They're going, insert cock, insert cock, insert cock. And then when they take him out of the game, when they sub him out, they're saying, don't pull out, don't pull out. I was like, and yeah, I was in that student section helping that, but I just that is awesome. But you know, fans are gonna be fans, and they're gonna come up with shit. It's you know, and these athletes know what they're getting into. They're in the spotlight, and their role is to just let it roll off their back.
Yeah,
I can say these things on your pod. I keep my pod classy. So
we say everything on this pod.
Hold on.
This pod is the gutter. Like we are the gutter.
I curse only here. I only curse
everybody. We don't give a shit. But hold on. I'm not sure if you answered the question. I apologize if I missed it.
What was the question?
Did his
wife? Were we talking about cock?
Is he married and did he get cheated on?
I don't know.
How do we know? Like,
I don't get into the TMZ side of athletes. I just don't.
I don't know if that was made up or not. I thought it was pretty interesting. That's all. But
I don't know, man. Like, what really happened with Josip Ilicic a couple of years ago is stuff like this, man. We can only speculate.
Tell Gags about Leao that he didn't miss the part where we talked about Leao because there's really nothing to talk about with him in this game.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning, Frank, that you didn't think he was good. It's funny because again, like we come from different perspectives because I had issued my disappointment with Lautaro, and then Richard said, like, you know, obviously he didn't score, but Richard thought he was good. And with Leao, like, I always have anticipation because I know how dangerous he is. Yeah. And he had some good moments on the ball, but obviously the finishing wasn't there. So we kind of have the same point of view. I thought Lautaro was trash, and Richard's like, well, listen, he had a couple great passes. He was dangerous. And I felt kind of the same way about Leao. Like, you always need to know where he is because he's very explosive and very dangerous on the ball.
Amen.
I love our guy, Chris is bantering Jerry. Oh man. You know, and something.
Hey, did Chris and Joe Cappuccino get their pictures taken in the same place? I mean, look at his picture. It looks just like Joe Cappuccino's with the black and white.
Yeah, I see that. I'm surprised Joe Cappuccino hasn't changed his picture to either pineapple on pizza or just something from Lord of the Rings. That dude is what a nerd. He is obsessed with Lord of the Rings. Get a life. I feel bad bantering him because I don't think he's actually watching this right now, but get a life.
there's a big loss.
Almost as much as Inter celebrating their rings this year, right? The trophy.
Hold on, but Alex,
you guys can celebrate. You guys can celebrate.
There's a bigger loss in this game, for Inter, and it's the fact that you lost Dzeko. We don't know how long.
Yeah, we don't know how long, but
Barella's hurt, and Bastoni's hurt, and this is this is the downfall with Inzaghi, where he becomes seriously.
No, I know.
No, seriously, this is the downfall with Inzaghi, which happened at Lazio, and I didn't expect it to happen at Inter.
Yeah,
for one reason, he's supposed to have bench players all of a sudden.
We got Ronaldo on the bench.
No, but at the end of the day, everyone says that Inter has more money than Lazio. Inter can spend. They can buy players. They have depth. They have
more money. They also have more debt. A lot more debt.
Yeah,
they do. But at the end of the day, even with debt, they still buy players compared to Lazio. They have a sporting director who's smart. No disrespect to Totti. He's done some good things, but some bad things. Now you got 3 players who are hurt. And I think that Dzeko's been managed very poorly because they ran this guy to the ground. It's not even halfway through the season, and now you're going to start to see injuries with this guy because
I think he's just been so good. It's hard to bench him, and also the thing is, Jerry Dzeko's been really good. It's hard to bench him. Correa has been injured a lot. Alexis has been injured a lot. So they haven't had a lot of you haven't had the luxury of being able to sit him and rotate Dzeko a lot.
Hold on, but when you do have Correa healthy, you elect to take him off with 20 minutes left in the game when he's playing. So he decides to score a brace. Let's take him off at the 70th minute.
Fair
Come
enough.
on, man. Like where's the mentality there? Bastoni, let's play him every game. We'll just kill him. Let's just play Barella every game.
How often do you rotate center backs, though? I mean,
I know, but you get those. That's where when you play.
And Bastoni's like 16 years old. He should be able to.
I get that, stamina. But when you're playing those mid-table teams, lower-table teams, that's where Dzeko comes out. I remember Dzeko was playing a few games this season where they're inserting games where people are asking, why is Correa starting on the bench? Why is he not starting the game? You spent $33 million for a fucking player, okay?
Yeah.
Play his fucking ass. Excuse my language, okay? Play his ass. I'm sorry, man. And I always get called out. Well, it's the sporting director who bought the player. It's not the coach's fault. Well, guess what? Last season, Inzaghi wanted freaking Mohamed Fares. For some reason, he stopped playing him. He wanted Correa now. He's not playing him. He wanted Denzel Dumfries. He's not playing him in certain games where he should be playing to get adapted to the league. Like, you're writing your guys. He goes to the same 11. He did this with Lazio. He gets two. With Lazio, I'm surprised. I'm not trying to be biased with Sarri. And I was talking with Joseph from Forza Napoli podcast, and he said a good point today. Maybe the fact that Luis Alberto not playing wasn't just the fact that he couldn't play with Savage. Mm-hmm. Maybe the fact that he's managing his minutes because he needs Alberto in the long term this season. And hold on. You brought Tomas Basic in, right? You spent $8 million on a player of his caliber. He's supposed to be a good midfielder. He's a number 10. Alberto's never had a good backup. Let's be realistic. In the last 5 seasons that he's been with Lazio, 6 seasons, what's his backup? You tell me, because Andrea Pereira, the guy got signed last year and played like 5 games because Inzaghi just wrote him off in 2 seconds. Yeah. Now you got a guy like Tomas Basic who needs to get adapted to the league. He needs to play. He needs to understand. You don't just let him on the bench. So you adapt him in. And Sarri's trying to get a feel for him too. So I think in a way, as much as Alberto didn't play as much at certain times, his legs are fresh. He's healthy right now. And after the break, you got Juventus and Napoli, and you got a healthy Alberto who is starting to adapt to his team. And I think there are other issues, but I think a part of it was managing his minutes. A part of it was trying to get him to buy into Sarri's system. And another part is just allowing him to understand what is needed from him. So good on Sarri, because he's rotated his players a little bit more than I expected. So
I have a rebuttal for that comment about Sarri. So if we didn't know all the backstory between Sarri and Luis Alberto, that sounds like a fantastic plan. That's exactly what you should be doing. But I think we all know what happened between Sadi and Luis Alberto was a freaking fallout behind the thing, and Luis Alberto wanted to leave, and there was fighting, and that's the real reason I think that Luis Alberto didn't play was Borsari being Mr. Machismo. I'm gonna show you up, little kid. That this is my team, not your team. But it ultimately worked because, like Jerry said, now he's got fresh legs, and now you got the big competitions coming up with these big teams. He'll be fresh for them. I mean, look at that nutmeg goal that Jerry tweeted the other day. That was a beautiful goal.
That was awesome.
And so now Luis Alberto, like much to Sarri's chagrin, is healthy. No minutes against them, and he's just going to be ready to fly the rest of the season. So it kind of worked out, the piss fighting between them. But yeah, that's the only comment I made, is that there was a real reason that wasn't saving his legs. It was really Sarri was being a dick about everything. Or I don't know, maybe it's Luis Alberto. I don't know.
It's not just Sarri though. At the training camp, he showed up late.
It's both of them. It's both of them for sure.
I don't think it was initially Sarri. I think that Alberto came in with the wrong attitude. I think he was mad. This is Alberto 2.0, guys. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for Inzaghi and his other guy that he had there, Ferris, saved his bacon how many times? We know the history of Alberto. It's not that Sarri knows that Savic and Alberto has to play together. He knows they're the two best midfielders in his team. He's not stupid.
Why does he make those comments though?
Because I think sometimes a manager is trying to address it in a very harsh way. They're old school Italians.
That's true.
And their mentality is much different to what we think about football. You know what I mean? You tell your father to change his ways. He still lives in the 60s or 50s. You know what I mean? Like my father, if I told my father to cut the meat a new way after 30 years, he'll tell me to go F myself.
I feel like people should know your father is a butcher, otherwise they're like, cut them.
Yeah, that's awkward.
Yeah.
Cut the meat, you know what I mean? Sausage. How to cure sausage, let's say. But I'm just saying that sometimes every manager has a different approach, and I think that Sarri said it perfect. I'm not here for the name on the back. I'm here for the name. I'm here for the logo. And he went tough at Alberto and said, Alberto, I will play you every game, but you got to do certain things to make your game improve. This is not 3-5-2 formation. This is 4-3-3. Inzaghi didn't want you playing defense. Well, guess what? You got to play defense on my team. And these are things that he's doing. And I thought the Retiro was the best option, and it's really helped them because the last 4 games they've looked amazing.
Has it been that long since the Retiro? 4 games already? Wow.
But
Time flies.
Every game they've looked better. And Alberto started, I believe, in 3 of the 4 matches, all in Serie A. Like sometimes, maybe Frank would agree with this. When you train every day, you're not really trying to build your relationships with the players and the manager and talking out your situations. You're there training to get the game better. Like you're focused on tactics and fitness and all that, right? You're not really devoting enough time to do what you do in a Retiro, where players can discuss their issues, they can work it out, they can get closer, and whatever it may be. So maybe that was a good thing, and it came at the right time after the way they played against Verona, right?
Well, you have to, and in the case of Sarri now coming over to Lazio in a new system and a departure from 3-5-2 to his 4-3-3, you're right. And a training environment's got to be created that implements your objectives, what you want to get out of matches tactically, what you want to get out of your training sessions. You have to implement the culture that you expect from your players, because it's probably in all likelihood going to be different than what the way the previous manager did it. But then there's a flip side of that coin. There's an urgency to get your players to be able to buy into that as quickly as possible so that you can be successful. And, in the case of Luis Alberto, maybe not everybody was sold. Okay. Mm-hmm. And maybe he was the one player that wasn't sold on the changes. And that, to the point, you do this Retiro now where you're all together 24/7. The outside noise is not, they're not going home to their families and hearing this or being told that by their friends or any of this other stuff. Now it's okay. After training, what's there? Do I talk to some teammates and maybe that's it? Some of his teammates saying, hey, here's what you can do. Here's this, here's that. So I can see where there was some benefit here with the Retiro in the case of the relationship between Sarri and Luis Alberto. I get it. At the same, Sarri also should take some responsibility that if this is one of his better players, I'm not saying that Sarri has to change the way he does things or he has to cater, to anybody specifically. And to your point, he's there for the logo. He's not there for the name on the back. But he also he has to create the environment to inspire everybody. Okay. Including from your best players all the way down to the equipment manager.
Mhm.
Okay. And he seemed to have been able to be successful in doing that in everybody except Alberto and maybe one or two other players we don't know about because they're maybe not as noteworthy. So, yeah, I mean, that's the manager's responsibility when he's walking into an environment first and foremost. It's not to cater to the individual player. He has a plan to implement, and the players who are being paid to be there have to buy into it as quickly as they can, or they're going to get frozen out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I like to say one last thing actually, and I forgot. Didn't have the chance to say this before, and Alex knows where I'm going on this one. And I got a message from a player, a Lazio player, where I did not expect this to come my way.
Private message, a DM.
A private message DM. And of all players, it was Lucas Leiva.
Wow.
And I didn't know I can trigger a player. And I think this is kind of sad on his part.
It's the blue check mark, bro. You are now all powerful.
And in the initial message is, well done, expert. You only know my name. Leave me alone, man. And I sent out a tweet during the halftime versus Lazio, between Lazio and Marseille. And I said that Lucas Leiva has to come off because he is not a regista. Okay? He is I'm gonna be honest, a great CDM in the last 4 years with Lazio, one very underrated. You want to put him in a CDM role, double pivot, fine. He does a good job in that situation. Defensively, one of the best. But as a regista, man, the guy is not a playmaker. And as you as a player take criticism, man, understand you're 34 years old. You're not a spring chicken, man. Like what the heck, man? You coming after me because of my opinion and the fact
expert.
That's what I said. I was like, me expert. I said to him, I'm not an expert. I felt bad. He's a human being. I understand that.
But what you initially said wasn't even that offensive. It's not like you tweeted out. Like, you've tweeted way worse things about Murici before. Like, you eventually started to like him, but before you liked him, you didn't like him. But with Lucas Leiva, like, basically all you said was he should have been taken off. Like, that's all. Like, if he's offended by that, he's soft. And if he wants to come at me, he can come at me, because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ignore his DM. So if he wants to come at me,
I'll say this about Lucas Leiva: that slide into your DM is the most successful slide he's had in about the last 3 years.
There's one thing I know for sure. One thing I know for sure. What Jerry said was probably nowhere near what offensive was what Nima probably said that got Wanda to direct message him. So,
well,
that's when you made it.
Well, I followed up with, I felt bad. So I was like, this guy's having a bad day. He's human. I don't want to be a bully or anything. Even if I didn't say anything wrong, I'll take the high road. I apologize to him. I was like, yo, bro, whatever. He follows up with another message. So I apologize. Whatever. I'll be the bigger person. It isn't the first time. You could prefer other players, but show some respect.
So he stalks you.
I was like, so after that,
don't post videos of your hometown now. He'll stalk you.
So after
Lucas Leiva probably thinks that like Jerry is like a reporter, like Di Marzio. Like he's like, oh, you got your big experts out there. You got Di Marzio, you got Jerry, you got Pedula. He thinks you're right up there.
Can I put out a PSA real quick? Lucas, if you're listening, Frank and I are big fans of you. Just come on our show, get your side of the story. We'll talk about Jerry all you want. Just come on.
Come on over. You'll be like every other. You'll be like every other non-Jerry Mancini guest. They all talk about him.
I asked him to come on the pod. No success. He said, "Better not at the moment. Thank you."
Lucas Leiva sits when he pees.
Oh,
that's getting a little personal.
Wow. No comment, man. I'm not gonna. You know what? Lucas Leiva has some good derbies against Roma and has put them in their place. So I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't shit on him in that way. But at the end of the day, I looked at my timeline. I said I put search Jerry Mancini, Lucas Leiva, and I've been really critical of him in the last 2-3 months, like really bad.
But critical, not mean, because you showed me some of the tweets you've written about him, and it's
not mean, but I've been very like I am not. Like I said, I'm not a biased. Other than Ciro Immobile, I am very biased. I will not lie. I am 100% biased about Ciro Immobile. The rest of Lazio, I will be critical and say, hey, it's your time, gotta go. You know what I mean? I'm not biased towards any of my players. Like I think that Savic is not the best midfielder this year. I absolutely agree. I rank him probably 4th right now. I say Tonali's ahead of him right now. He's had a way better season than Savic. I will be honest. I only say he's the best midfielder because I'm a Lazio fan, so I'm always going to support Savic.
And he has been in the past. Like there have been 2 or 3 years in the last half decade where he's been the best in the league.
I'm biased because I'll support my players, but at the end of the day, he's not the best midfielder this year. I absolutely agree. I think Tonali's top 3. I think Barella's been better than Savic. I don't know who else has
Gagliardini.
No.
Hey, how about my boy Davide Fratesi, Locatelli's replacement over there at Sassuolo? He's balling now. Yeah, he's scoring goals. I touted him from day one. I was like, hey, watch him match week 1 against Hellas Verona. Saw him play, and I was like, hey, Sassuolo got their money, and they were right to, and they get this kid, and he might be just as good. So
I love it. Hey, I want to do some thank yous and then wrap up this episode. I got to run. I think Richard has to run as well. So let me throw out some shout outs to the chat. Our guy Mass, thank you so much. And Mass is a very frequent guest on this program, and I love the fact that when he's not on, he's still in. So I love that. Thank you so much, Chris DeSantis. So another. He recently came on the show for the first time. Roma supporter, great to see you in there. Our guy Michael Lisi. It's. I feel like it's been a minute. Lisi and I tweet each other quite a bit. It's nice to see you in the chat. George Rodriguez, thank you so much. Mario Galliano, thank you so much. Akbar Yuldoshev, who we see in here frequently. I apologize if I butchered your name, but we always love when we see you here.
Same.
Oh, quick predictions.
Yeah.
Does Italy win Friday?
Yes.
God.
2-0.
Yeah, they do win, but why do we get international breaks every 2 weeks? This is driving me insane.
So we can get breaks from podcasting.
Yeah, Richard and I we take a break. So
it's true, actually. It's a good point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it gives us time to rekindle with Serie A Sitdown. Why don't you guys come back next week, man? We'll talk about
we could talk about the Azzurri.
We could talk about the Azzurri if we want to come back on.
By the way, Lisi's only on because he heard us talk about Hakan. He's like, "Oh wait, Hakan, what? Coming on?"
Yeah.
He is obsessed. I love it.
He's here for the Hakan blast.
Lisi always makes me laugh, and I stalk his timeline because I know he tweets about Hakan 3 times a day, every single day.
Leiva.
Yeah. It would be so funny if we got Leiva sliding into Jerry's DMs. I would love it if Hakan slid into Lisi's DMs. It's like
no, he would block him first. Hakan is a serial blocker on Twitter. So
I'm not stopping the Lucas Leiva banter now. I'll praise him in certain tweets, man, for his past, but the present, nah, man, he needs to know that don't resign with Lazio this year. Leiva's a free agent this summer. It was nice having you. You're done. Yeah. But and a shout out to my boy Daniele Cataldi. Call up to the Azzurri. Man, that's a victory lap for Sarri. I'll give him that because Cataldi was lost under Inzaghi. Threw them all in how many positions? Frank Paul, you can vouch that.
Wasn't it the 3 of us that said Cataldi should start CDM instead of Lucas Leiva? And it's starting to work now. I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, and on Italy, he's there to carry Jorginho's bags. Let's not kid each other here. If he sees the pitch, I'll be stunned. So,
no, you're right, Frank. But you know what? Just to get a call up and just to be
huge.
right, it's huge. You know what I mean? Just to be there, that's a step in the right direction, man. Like Cataldi before the season never had a clear role with Lazio. Comes with Sarri, and Sarri's like, you know what? I'm going to turn this another guy. That's one thing Sarri's done good with. He's always got every team he's been on, he's been able to transition a player or two into a really good player. Yeah. And I see Cataldi being the Jorginho 2.0, maybe. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but he's 25, 26 years old. You never know. You need a backup to Jorginho. Maybe Cataldi's that guy.
Yeah.
As much as I love Inzaghi, he's never used Cataldi right, and maybe the fact that Cataldi just didn't work well in a 3-5-2,
That could be it.
And he's the benefactor here, where a 4-3-3 is all of a sudden the guy he benefits now, and like we said earlier, Alberto and Savage are the kind of at a disadvantage, but now that he comes into the formation, it kind of benefits Alberto and Savage, surprisingly, and they kind of work together. So we'll see what happens. But
Pellegrini, Jorginho, Locatelli, that's the early midfield on Friday. That's what I think Mancini. That's what Richard and I thought Mancini should roll with. With the injuries.
Yeah.
Pellegrini is out, no?
With Barella having
he's in.
knock, no doubt.
Oh, is he in? I thought he was out. Oh no, that's right. Zaniolo's out.
Barella and Verratti are out.
Yeah, they're out.
Okay. But
listen, I want to send out a huge thank you to our guests. Whenever we can cross over with these guys, whether it's our show or their show, it's so much fun, man. And honestly, for my money, one of the top Calcio podcasts you will find, the Serie A Sitdown. So I don't know who I should give the honors to. I'll let you both plug your personal stuff, but which one of you wants to take the honors to tell people where they can find everything you do with the Serie A Sitdown?
Frank's got the lungs, so I'll let him go.
No, Richard, you do it.
All right, so you can follow us anywhere at Serie A Sitdown, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Obviously, we have a YouTube page. Well, maybe not obvious, but you should follow the YouTube page. We put lots of content out there, including the fan reactions, which both of you gentlemen are going to be helping us with.
Yeah, I still need to get a reaction to you.
Yeah, but no, check us out there. Our podcast can be heard anywhere that you can hear: Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud. I mean, you name it, we're there. Apple Podcasts. So yeah, definitely give us a follow, and our handles are right here. So definitely check us out. And thank you, gentlemen, for letting us be on and talking a little fun here while we not so serious so often. We're a little bit too serious in our podcast sometimes. So
man, it works for you. Everybody has their niche. I go to some pods, whether it be sports or otherwise, that are super serious, some that are not at all serious. And of course, for those watching, you could see the Twitter handles. Yeah, Pellegrini and Zaniolo both out.
Okay, well then I got to rethink that.
Thank you for the shout from the Roma supporter who would know these things. So that's good stuff there. So yeah, you can see the Twitter. You could see the Chira also left. R _ Kharman for Richard. FTC _ 21 for Frank, and Jerry at J Mancini 8. Let the people know if you're working on anything. Make sure you look at Richard's beautiful logo. But Jerry, what about you? Anything to promote this week?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to make a logo like Richard does.
You can find my stuff on Etsy, by the way.
You know what, man? I'm so jealous of Richard because I wish I knew how to make these videos like he does, and all these like cool. Like I see people making like the Laziale, Stephen Moore does a great job of like doing those graphics, and you guys do a great job with your videos. And here I am, just writing away, making articles, like do the generic stuff. And I'm like, buzz, man. Like
you get the check mark.
I'm giving the same shout out to Richard. I mean, I'm telling you this right now. Those videos, the technology, all that, it is all 100% Richard. I just show up for the podcast. Richard does an amazing job.
I'm basically writing an article on a Chirby with the Azzurri about how he's basically just won a Euro after the career that the life that he's gone through and battling cancer. So I have that coming out. You got a piece on Marici too.
What about Leva?
I do. I actually, you know what? I do have a piece on Leva too.
You should write a piece about the DMs.
God, screenshots and all.
My God, you guys.
He would kill you.
No,
he would.
Me. I don't know what to say, man. I just at the end of the day, this is a really good answer. I'll say this: the guy makes millions of dollars. I make peanuts. Okay, I gotta go to work.
Potato chips, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I go to work.
Ketchup chips.
You're crying about a message from a guy who makes 1% of what you do in your whole entire life. Like, come on, go to work, go play, take my criticism, try to prove me wrong, and shut up. Like, honestly, like, stupid.
Listen, we appreciate everybody. We appreciate everyone taking the time to watch us and listen to us. For those watching this live or replayed on YouTube, we will also be posting the audio only version. So make sure you check out our podcast, Calcio Connection, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, every single podcasting platform. You will find us there, Calcio Connection. And for those who are listening to this, keep in mind you might want to look at the live video, because whenever we talk a little shit to one another, it's nice to be able to look each other in the eyes here through the old StreamYard system, so you can watch our videos
You're
on
back.
YouTube as well. So it's a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much. We will talk to you again next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.
Yeah, Roma Merda, they stink.